Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is okay. My name is Dan Mpisi from Rwanda and the CEO and founder of Blue Oceans. It's an honor to host this webinar. I hope our internet connection is good for everyone. I'm happy to see attendees joining. We have over 80 participants registering as we speak so far. Looking forward to hearing and seeing from more participants. So just to kick off, I will give a brief overview of this webinar and the genesis of this webinar and why we started. This webinar is entitled Creation, Collaboration and Action, Creative Agency Collaboration, in East Africa. So the reason we started really this webinar, the reason it came to light is because we really wanted to see how we can collaborate when it comes to creative agencies in the region. There is really a dearth of collaboration, of strategic and intentional partnerships when it comes to marketing, communication, PR agencies in the region. And the idea is to come together, discuss the industry in the region, discuss opportunities, look at collaborative efforts, and more importantly, see how we can start serving a population in East Africa. Currently, if I'm not mistaken, our population stands at over 302 million citizens. And the idea is to imagine how diverse and impactful and inspiring the storytelling and communication and marketing agency can be when we bring great minds together, not only from leading agencies in East Africa, but agencies, across East Africa, looking at storytellers, looking at content creators, looking at policymakers in the communication and PR field, looking at communication practitioners, and just also young professionals who want to join the industry and learn more of where we stand. So joining us, we have representation from not all 80 East African countries, but the few that we could gather. This is the first webinar in a series of many, and I will start by allowing my panelists to introduce themselves, to share more of where they're from, before we take a deep dive. We will also have a Q&A session later on. On the question and answer session, I'd kindly like to ask participants to just keep their questions in the chat box and ask them, and we'll address them after this short discussion and engage with participants on the topic, creation, collaboration in East Africa with regards to marketing and communication agencies. That said, I'll just talk briefly about Blue Ocean. Blue Ocean is the leading communication agency and marketing agency in Rwanda. We are a 360-degree agency, meaning we do everything, from different platforms when it comes to communication. We're involved in content creation, we're involved in training, we're involved in television and documentary production, and so on and so forth. And it's an honor to have convened this webinar with our brothers and sisters from the region. And I'll share more about what Blue Oceans does, but that said, I would like to quickly go over to my panelists. Kester, if we can hear from you, from Aquila Communications from Uganda, representing Uganda, over to you.
All right, thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Kester Shimonyo Muhanji. I'm here from Aquila East Africa. Aquila East Africa is an agency that is available in originally from Kenya, but currently we are in Uganda, and today I'll be speaking from the agency office in Uganda, and we're in other East African countries in one form or another. Aquila East Africa is a company that has been in existence for about 10 years with very active hands-on work for the past 6 years. The key areas that we focus on are: one, we handle media, so anything to do with advertising, be it out of home, TV, radio, and so on. The second thing that we do is digital communication. You all agree that in this time and age, you cannot survive without one form of digital communication or another, be it socials or be it online and so on. So we have a robust team that actually handles that. The third area that we focus on is creative. And our creative department actually supports the other two elements of marketing that I've talked about, which is basically digital and media. So we produce content that we share on our digital platform, and we produce contents like advertising, documentaries, informationals that we share on as far as advertising is concerned. And then the last one that we're actually very excited about is experiential services. So we do a lot of on-ground activities, but not in the traditional way of activating in malls and on the roads and other places. But we've come up with a solution where we target special groups in our communities. So be it investment groups, what we call Chama in general East African area region in Swahili, be it activations in religious organizations, be it activations in schools. We do all these things under what we consider as special projects or experiential. And then we have two other areas that we are not really core, but we also participate in. One is PR, and the second one is sports marketing. Again, a new area that we are venturing into, and yeah, we are open to having discussions around that. So in a nutshell, that's who I am, and that is what Aquila East Africa is about, and I'm looking forward to a very interesting conversation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kester. Binja, over to you, representing Kivu brand from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you.
Okay, guys, bonjour, bonjour. I feel like we're still very serious this morning. My name is Binja Basimike. I am currently in Kinshasa, founder of Kivu Brand Architects. We just go by Kivu Brand. So our company's mission is to connect global brands, to African influence. And so how we do that is basically through three pillars. Our first pillar is content creation. We are a content creation house. That is our DNA, anything from long form to short form content. And then our second pillar is influencer management. So we work with content creators, influencers, manage those contracts, manage those interactions, how to find them, who have the best engagement, how to pair them up with the right type of campaigns, and then all the analytics that go along with that and the management of that entire process. And then our third pillar is event activation. So we love working with brands. We love doing brand activations, seeing how an international brand can come into Congo and see how they can integrate with our market, and not necessarily just duplicate what's been done in the past, but actually like understand the market, understand what the needs are. And we generally specialize in connecting with women who are Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z. That's our core demographic, especially in our brand activations, but we really work with everybody. So I'm excited as well, as what Kester mentioned, to be here today and to chat and just be able to exchange some ideas, and hopefully we can get a profitable outcome by the time we're done.
Thank you, Binja, and thank you for adding a spark of, yes, we were too serious when we started, and I think as communicators and creators, there's also a less informality that we need to really also delve into this conversation. Furaha, our brother all the way from Tanzania, Shikamo, Habari, please share a bit more about you as well as the organization you're representing.
Right. Mambo, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Furaha Mohammed. I am a founder and a creative director at the company called Horizon Digital Tanzania Limited. Horizon is also a 360 advertising agency, which has its core on a digital. We started 9 years ago, where we were only a digital-only company, but over the years, we wanted to be a one-stop center for our customers. So we started adapting other aspects of marketing. And to date, we have done quite amazing work in all 360 aspects. Yeah, and we are currently exploring other options on how we can keep helping our clients. We've been working with influencers for a very long time, and we're building a tool that can help our clients and other agencies in the industry to automate the influencer marketing campaigns. So it's great to be here. I'm excited. I'm sure we're going to have a great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Furaha. Clifford, you're here representing South Sudan. Please tell us a bit more about Boomerang Creatives, a fully owned South Sudanese creative agency and the work that it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, and I hope I'm audible enough. Hello, everybody, and Sabal Khair to everybody. Boomerang Creatives, we actually have quite a number of pillars. We have the 360 conversation, where we have the out-of-home, radio, TV, digital, and print conversations. We recently started activating influencer engagements for our clients across the region. And above and beyond the 360 pillar, we also have corporate communications that we handle. And one of our strong pillars that we normally have are production. Now, we do all sorts of productions, from videos to content development to documentaries for different NGOs, different corporates. Basically, what we do, we focus on telling the story for our brands, because we believe once we can bring out the story for the brands, it can be really, really beneficial to the market. So, yeah, basically, we're just movers and shakers who have come to disrupt the South Sudan market.
Thank you very much, Clifford. I like that, movers and shakers who have come to disrupt the market. I'm hoping, Williams, your sound is okay now. Representing Kenya, please unmute and tell us more about Ideal Communications Concepts, sorry.
I believe I'm fine now. Can I be heard clearly?
Perfect.
Yeah. As I said before, I'm William Ogonda. I am the founder of Ideal Communication Concepts, based in Kenya, registered in Kenya, but with focal offices in Rwanda, South Sudan, and USA. And we are mainly in strategic communications and development research, where we are all 360 and also big at now venturing into research, because we've realized most of our clients that we have worked for are looking out for baseline surveys, evaluation of projects, and of project evaluation or midline evaluation. So we've done a number of that. And we have developed a number of strategic communication approaches for organizations, communication strategies, produced knowledge products that include documentaries, fact sheets, magazines, and also carried out campaigns for a number of clients within the region. And so that is what makes us. I want to believe that we can engage more when we get to the Q&A section.
Thank you very much, William. So as you can see, for those who are joining, as it is with webinars, it's a Friday, people are probably busy, but for those who are joining as we carry on, thank you for being here. And just to reiterate, this is a webinar entitled Creation, Collaboration, and Action, Creative Agency Collaboration in East Africa. We have different agencies here from different countries, specifically Kenya, Rwanda, with Kenya, Ideal Communication Concepts. From Rwanda, there's Blue Oceans. From Tanzania, there's Horizon Digital. From Democratic Republic of Congo, we have Kivu Brand. From Uganda, we have Aquila East Africa. And from South Sudan, we have Boomerang Creatives. And it's an honor to have convened this webinar and hosting it, because as we said earlier on, there's really very little intentional strategic collaboration between marketing, PR, communication, advertising agencies in the region. And we are here to discuss how we can collaborate. We're here to discuss industry trends, and most importantly, look at the challenges in the industry, and most importantly as well, broaden opportunities for work within the industry, and look at serving a market of over 300 million citizens in East Africa, as opposed to just serving, country by country. So it's really trying to bring minds together and look how we can widen this industry in the region. It's the first webinar of many. We'll be having different webinars over the course of the year. So very excited to be here and also discuss the issues I just mentioned. So the first question really for all, panelists, I would like to ask is to if you could share, because there are people who are also joining to understand what is this industry? What does it look like? You know, what are the key industry trends in East Africa regarding the work that creative industries do? And that said, I would like to start with you, Kester, representing Uganda with Aquila East Africa. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I know everybody has to contribute one way or another. So as much as I have a long list of things to say about the trends, I'll just pick on one to give everybody else a chance to speak. And what I can say is that from the experience that we are seeing in interacting with various clients is that digital communication is something that you cannot do without. And digital communication is coming in all forms and shapes. So from traditional digital communication that involves things like social media advertising, it has come to a point where every organization, no matter how large or how small you are, you must have an element of social media handles. You must have an element of a websites. You must optimize these websites using SEO and so on and so forth. So it's gotten to a point where each and every entity that needs to communicate from a marketing point of view must have some online presence. Secondly, also to mention that as far as marketing is concerned, many organizations have started moving towards AI and VR. AI is actually artificial intelligence. And just to dwell on that a bit, we've seen many major corporates starting to produce their artworks and their billboards using AI. So what they do is their creatives would go onto the platforms, key in whatever communication they want, and then the AI solutions would provide the artworks, and then they will do the touch-up, and it comes out probably better than some of the works that we do directly. So the emerging trend around digital is that client digital communication because of ease execution, easy to monitor, report readily available, and increasingly it is becoming clear that it is becoming easier to use digital solutions like AI to carry out production works where you don't need models, you don't need time to schedule shoots and things like that. So in a nutshell, what I would say, my observation is that digital communication in its entirety is becoming a key focal thing in as far as marketing communication is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kester. I really like that you touched on AI and that you touched on, the digital world. If you're in this industry, there's absolutely no way you can rely on, sort of traditional forms of communication and marketing platforms such as print or television or radio. And really, I think AI is something the industry really needs to take a bit more seriously, especially because when it comes to creativity, like you said, some of these posters that we see, some of the artwork that we see, the videos, the scripts, copywriters with ChatGPT, what happens next? And this is something I'd like us to touch on later on. But thank you very much for bringing that up. Clifford from South Sudan, if you could share with us what are some of the industry trends, especially a country like South Sudan. I've never been there. I'm hoping to visit soon, hoping to collaborate soon. If you could just share with us, some of the industry trends in the market where you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diana. And you're all most welcome. As a matter of fact, we can even touch on having an exchange program where we can have different agencies moving across the region and we can learn from each other. Speaking on the trends that we can look at, what we can look at in South Sudan right now, a fast growing trend is actually in the film and production industry, where we are seeing a lot of the media landscape here is focusing on production and telling their story through film. Because you see, with the current situation in South Sudan, there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of stories, and there are a lot of narratives that have not been told, and there's a lot of rich culture. I'd like to see, and a lot of that can be told from South Sudan that the world has not seen out there. So that is a very fast growing trend that's happening here. People are moving even towards even when it comes to music production. So the biggest trend and the fast growing trend here for now, I'd start by saying is production, where we look at film and we look at audiovisual production.
Thank you very much, Clifford. We'll come back to that. And it's interesting to know audiovisual production is a key leader in terms of the South Sudanese communication creative agency market. I'd like to go over to, if we can hear from William.
I want to believe you're getting me.
Yes.
Yeah, Kenya is a very rich area when it comes to communication in the region. As of the year 2022, the Communications Authority in Kenya established that we have 228 radio stations, 182 TV stations, 13 newspapers. And now we are among the top 3 African countries running podcasts. And like my colleague said, just before I compare with what Kester said, the situation across the region. In Kenya alone, by 2023, that is last year, we had 23.35. That's about 23.5 million people using internet. So internet penetration in Kenya is very high. But the trends there is that we are now going big in the area of podcasts. Media houses are beginning to consider how to tap into podcasts or set up podcasts. Of course, there are a number of content creators in Kenya. And when it comes to quality, that's where the challenge is. We don't have good quality in terms of content. Advertising is fast changing very much. And that has its pros and cons in the sense that before CAF closed up, that was Kenya Advertisers Researchers Foundation. Before they closed down, there was very good access to data, because to advertise, you need data. For organizations to advertise, they have got to know what are the trends, who is consuming radio more than TV, who is consuming TV, who is consuming more of online content. And now it's a challenge to a lot of organizations that are coming into advertising, or corporates for that matter, in that you can't buy one-off as a media house and get to know what is happening across several lead media houses across. And that is because when CAF closed, the APA, that is APA, which is now the new outfit for the advertisers, practitioners in Kenya. Yes, it's up, but you can't also get data as in the bouquet that you may want to have to inform you about the entire trend across Kenya. That's a challenge. But also the film industry in Kenya is growing, though it has been hard hit by South Africa, Nigeria. And so what has happened here is that, yes, media houses are not producing films per se, or sitcoms, for example. They are preferring to buy from across, and particularly the Mexican market is really benefiting from the Kenyan television stations, because it's very big in terms of film, that is the telenovelas. And so what is happening is they are bringing in content at a much cheaper price, and therefore the local producers have suffered in terms of getting the market for their products. That is what I can say for now with the trends in Kenya, and probably we can come back to that later.
Okay, thank you very much. Furaha, is there anything you'd like to also add on this?
Somehow here we are experiencing the same trends. In here, radio is still happening. TVC is still happening as well, but a good number of people or brands are also thinking about influencer marketing. This is why we have taken a decision to invest more on influencer marketing, because we see many brands in every campaign they do, they also have an element of influencer marketing. Yeah, so, but there are also other trends that people use dancing videos to advertise their products. You know, it's like crazy dances they use, and then they go viral, you know, and also it helps the business go viral. Yeah, things like that we're seeing here.
Great, thank you. So we've talked about, some of the trends in East Africa regarding the work creative agencies do. I would say in Rwanda, it's also very similar. We are looking at trends that digital platforms are really taking over. Of course, in terms of communication, PR, advertising, marketing, the traditional platforms still exist. Print, but in terms of print, online, news media houses are really big in terms of being an avenue through which people can communicate their brands, their stories. Television and radio is big. In Rwanda, radio, the coverage is, especially from the national broadcaster, is a very popular means of getting messages across. We are also, it's a growing platform of using influencer marketing with regards to the growing number of influencers in Rwanda, very creative in the way they showcase, different brands, different products, different stories, not only from the private sector, but as well from government agencies as well. And also the trend, I would say, is that I think for Rwanda, the understanding of the importance of PR or the importance of storytelling is really growing, at least in the last, I would say, 8 to 10 years. And I say this because, usually in the communication field, if you're a communication officer or manager or director, especially in government, a couple of years back, these were underfunded sort of departments because the importance of comms, the importance of PR was not something that was really widely understood. And I'm happy to say it's growing. The use of creative agencies being relied on because they have the expertise, they have the tools, they have the resources. Sorry, I went offline there for a minute, but I'm back now. So I was just giving you an overview of the communication and media landscape and PR landscape. But with regards to creative agencies, this is something that creative agencies have grown in the last decade because of the reliance of understanding their expertise, advisory services in comms, PR, marketing, in terms of having the resources and the know-how. So I would like to say that, as a founder and owner of Blue Oceans, my company and other like-minded companies have been growing in Rwanda in the last decade. And I think it's set to grow even further because this is a country that understands the importance of communication and being in the driving seat of telling our stories. Over to you, Kester, as you said, the digital platform is big. You will find that lots of government institutions have big presence, at least in Rwanda, on social media platforms such as X, such as Instagram, such as Facebook, in terms of communicating sort of government policies and just general communication with the public. So digital platforms is really a huge platform. Is really big in Rwanda with regards to being utilized also in terms of corporate entities. So I think these are the trends as well in Rwanda, and it's similar in the region. So I really see room for lots of collaboration in terms of if we have partnerships with let's say Aquila in Uganda or Ideal in Kenya, Kivu brand from DRC. I really see sort of synergy in how we can discuss partnerships and see how to serve different and bigger organizations. I would like to just touch on, before we go to the Q&A session, my next question is, what are some of your challenges when it comes to implementing the work your agencies do? Again, I'm sure we share similar challenges, but I'd just like to hear if there's some unique challenges to each country, or they're actually similar than we think? And I'll start with you, Kester.
I'll just cite two instances, and this is from our experience in working in other countries other than where we are domiciled. And one big challenge is actually getting information in the new areas that we go to. You know, if you move to any neighboring country where you're actually have an assignment or you're new, then getting information about the industry, about the consumption patterns, anything to do with marketing and so on is very difficult. I was highlighting that challenge of getting information in different markets, because I believe that this collaboration that we are working at is going to be one ways of addressing that, because we don't need to move into certain markets when we have a partnering agency that can assist with the information that they readily have, that can help us, or in collaboration be able to carry out a campaign. I think second to that is we've carried out a bit of experiential campaigns in different markets, and the next big thing is actually staffing. Getting the right people to, for example, carry your activations in country X. It is very hard to understand where to start from, where to organize the training. You know, there's cultural differences and so on and so forth. So I would say those are the two challenges that are top of what we've experienced. And also say that I believe this collaborative effort that we are working towards is a perfect vehicle to actually help in solving some of those challenges.
Great. Binja, over to you. What are some of the, challenges from your perspective?
So unlike Kenya that can boast, all these TV stations and all these radio stations and all these advances, I think in terms of just where we are, Congo is still very far behind. I would say about 10 years behind our neighbors. A lot of focus is usually on traditional media, which obviously, as we're talking about advancing into the digital age, definitely handicaps our viewership, our audiences, because everybody is moving that direction, but it's really taking a little while to get to fully digitizing over in Congo. And I'll speak more specifically to some of our challenges here. I would say two things mainly. One is just access to technology. We don't have the same versions of access that most folks have. So think about like your influencers trying to create content over social media. Our Instagram doesn't have all the functions that most Instagrams, like in Nairobi, in Rwanda, have. We lack some functions that are native to the app in other areas, but they are restricted regionally for Congo. So if you want to create the high quality content that our neighbors are creating, we physically cannot do so because we have these technological restrictions put upon us. If you think about platforms like Spotify doesn't even exist in Congo unless you have a VPN. You are unable to even access that option. So as William was talking about podcasting, Spotify has a huge platform for podcasting. How do we ensure that Congolese creators play on the same level if we don't even have access to the application itself? So those are just some of the restrictions that we face, especially on the creative side, which continue to hold us back. And then I would also say the second biggest way that we're actually really held back is something that Kester alluded to but didn't fully go into, is the analytics component of things. I would say one of the trends that we're seeing is this trend towards like getting more analytics, more data analytics around digital marketing so that people can understand the ROI around the campaigns that they create, around the engagement that they're asking for. Because right now people are kind of just throwing money to Instagram and saying, hey, run all of these campaigns. But my question as a hopefully responsible agency is, well, what are we trying to actually do? Are we trying to gain visibility? Are we trying to gain engagement? Like, what is the end goal for this particular campaign? We can just throw dollar amounts to it. But if you as a client continue to get frustrated because you're saying, well, my stuff isn't going viral, well, if you go viral, like what is the goal of that virality? How are we going to get that and convert it into, people actually coming through the doors to your restaurant or people actually purchasing your product? So getting enough data to especially attract international clients, regional partnerships is a really big challenge for us because that is not a forte. And again, just because of some of the technological issues that we are experiencing in the Congo just natively because of regional restrictions. Even stuff like YouTube, we don't really have Google ads being run off of YouTube. So if you're a client who's trying to advertise through YouTube and you say, hey, show me the creators that I can, advertise through, I don't even know that that is an ROI that we can talk through based in our region because we don't even have Google ads running. So it's stuff like that generally hinder our progress, but we are not deterred. Part of why I live in Kinshasa and I decide to build in Kinshasa is to find ways around it so that we can say our partnerships in Kenya are successful and we're not the ones holding back Africa because of our technological failings. Yeah, I hope that was clear enough, and we can chat some more during the Q&A session.
Thank you very much. Very, very valid points raised. I'll also touch a bit on some of the issues we face, especially when it comes to market research in Rwanda. I would like to go over to you, Clifford.
Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Binja. I can really reflect my challenges, or rather the challenges in South Sudan to what is happening in Binja's market. It's actually very similar. We are in the same boat with you, Binja, but we're trying to wade through it. We have a lot of government legislations and legislation, and restrictions, especially when it comes to agencies, media houses, and production. And by this, I mean all the way from even the cameraman who's on the ground taking photos for whatever event they may have. For example, they will need permits for that. You cannot just take photos anyhow, all the way to actually the experiential conversation. If you're doing an event, it's not impossible, but it will be quite a challenge, and it will take time to put that together. You cannot expect to see a lady here driving a forklift, for example. There are rules that are put aside for two different genders. That is another challenge we have, but now we are starting to see our social media coming up very fast. Actually, for South Sudan, we do it the other way around. It's Facebook that is big here and not Instagram, as opposed to East Africa. So now we're starting to see influencers coming in, even from both genders. And thirdly, another challenge I would say would be also still a cultural and creative challenge. Things like creativity here is not seen to be a serious kind of course. People are dissuaded to move to more science courses, as we're talking about the youth who are coming up, to move to more science courses. And
thank you very much, Clifford. So these are the industry issues we're facing. I'd like to go to other panelists who'd like to contribute to some of the industries you're facing in the country that you are in when it comes to agency work. William, would you like to share some more on this?
Thank you. Now, in Kenya, much as there's a whole, it's a buzz, all over media and so forth, there are a number of challenges. One key challenge is on the creatives. Most creatives, as we speak, have gone AI, yet clients now are looking at how best then do they save costs. Because if you are going the traditional way, you will have to have a whole crew going to shoot an advert, the artists and all that. AI is changing the trend in that you just originate the way it is. Safaricom has already given it a test. They have a whole advert, originated out of an AI, giving it a human eye, and that's it. That technology is easily beginning to eat into the creative outfits in Kenya, and soon I think some staff will lose jobs, particularly staff that are into creative. Because then AI, you may need 1 or 2 members of staff who are good designers. The rest may not really serve. Now, when it comes to also creative briefs, it's a challenge because most industry players, and particularly corporates, do not understand some of the media creatives that we may need. So our client sends you a brief that is very blind in terms of the specs of the video, in terms of the specs of the knowledge products generally that you've got to produce. And when you send it back to them, then you start that argument of, oh, it didn't come out well and so forth. That's a major challenge. In terms of content creators, they are creating a major competition with the agencies, because now we have social influencers coming out also as agencies on their own. They are independent, they are making a name out there, and they can easily walk into a corporate client and say, I think I can do this. And particularly when it comes to experiential media, they can go out and do market storms and so forth. So it's beginning to eat into the space of the creative agencies. The content creators are not necessarily media informed. They are not trained in media, they are not trained in marketing trends, they are not trained in all that. So they come in just because of their name in a particular sector, and that is a major challenge. But again, most corporates don't have strategic communication departments, or basically just communication departments. So they are coming to you, and they even don't know what they want. You raise what they want, and then all of a sudden they are saying, no, we didn't want it this way, we wanted it this way. And those are becoming challenges, or part of the challenges in this industry in Kenya. I think I'll stop there for now until we have a Q&A, then I can come back with more.
We have touched on so many issues. I'm just really looking forward to sort of a breakdown after this webinar to give it bite-sized chunks that we can share with the public for those who didn't attend. We are talking about challenges to deal with, just starting from education with regards to, touching on the issue of arts not being encouraged vis-a-vis sciences. And that's also the same thing where I come from in Rwanda. So, the idea of telling your parents you want to be a content creator, you want to go into this field, it's not really supported as saying you want to go into medicine, etc., etc. We are talking about the dearth of market research, especially if you want to look at international clients. When they ask you, what is the readership of this and this newspaper? What is the viewership? What is the optimal time for advertisements, eyeballs on screen? And getting that data that's generated from Rwandans, not some international NGO, it's very, very hard to come across. You're looking at content creators not really being trained in media, and again, that's also something interesting to look at. We're looking at issues where strategic communication plans are not designed for huge organizations or government agencies, or at least not followed through or enriched. These are really some of the challenges I think that really also tell us there's a lot of work to do in the region, in the industry, whether it comes to training on how to develop communication strategies, whether it comes to training on media. There's very many opportunities I'm seeing, as much as we're talking about challenges. Furaha, would you like to also share more on this? Thank you.
Thank you so much. As for me, we have the usual challenges, but my last 9 years, I've seen how most of our customers, they seem like they understand what they want, and it seems so to many agencies that when you want to target a certain customer, then you can, if you want to target maybe a certain territory, then you just put a billboard somewhere. Or you just, because you are targeting a certain thing, you narrow that, your direction, you target that. And so I've been my experience is that is quite the opposite way. It could be a way to reach your customers, but I have this idea that marketing is not linear. If you're targeting Diana, you know, it's not like if you speak to Diana about your offer, Diana is going to do it immediately. You know, there are so many other dynamics when it comes to buying behavior or purchasing behaviors. So for us as agencies, we have also to understand this, because we need to advise our clients that marketing is not linear. If you are targeting a certain platform, you also have to target maybe another secondary platform, because the key is, if you're targeting directors, if the directors have seen the information, the directors might need people to assure them, okay, this decision that we are going to make is quite right. You know, we normally see it's the line managers who have the information, and they pass the information to the directors and other final decision makers. Usually the final decision makers, they approve based on the information they have from other line managers. So as marketers, what we learn from that is that marketing is not linear. If you're targeting director, it means you have to target also the person who received the information, because they are going to receive information from other people that don't know you, since you've been only targeting the directors. Yeah, so that has been my challenge for most of my customers. I keep educating them that we have to make sure we broaden our target to make sure that the information that we want to pass out, it goes to the right people who facilitate the close of the sale.
That's great. I love the way you just keep on saying marketing is not linear. And, you know, it's a thinking, it's a mindset that needs to kind of expand and broaden in this scope. Very, very valid insights. You know, before we go to the Q&A, I would just like to tell the participants who I can see are still coming in to just put their questions on the side and our esteemed panelists will answer them. My next question as we come to the close is really if you can share with us, what does collaboration look like to you? Kester, William, Furaha, Binja, Clifford, when we talk about collaboration with regards to East African agencies, what does that look like? Does it mean exchanging, you know, best practices? Does it mean partnering? For instance, Blue Ocean, some of our clients have presence in Kenya. And if we want to expand, do we say that we'll partner with you, William, to serve this client? Does collaboration mean looking at our expertise and then looking at your expertise and consolidating our strengths, you know? So Clifford, if I want to come to South Sudan, you say you're big in audiovisual production. In Rwanda, we're also, you know, doing that as Blue Oceans, but we're also good when it comes to training, especially training government agencies and corporates when it comes to the media, when it comes to PR, when it comes to communication. So what does collaboration look like to you? And Clifford, I'd like to start with you.
I look at from a perspective in a market perspective from East Africa conversation, I'd look at three things: relationships, engagements, and partnerships. When I'm talking about relationships, I mean building one-on-one growth conversations. What conversations are we having? What conversations am I having with you, Binja? What conversation am I having with you, Kester? And is it a growing conversation? Remember, when we're building these relationships, you need to understand that, especially when you're trying to build client relationships, we're no longer dealing with a market where we expect briefs from clients. That conversation ended. You'd have briefs some time back, you'd have briefs that last for a whole year. Now it is us to create relationships and create a conversation with the clients, for example, across East Africa, by bringing onto the table the idea that we can actually innovate for the clients and for the partners. Now, through engagement, it would mean to have to actively now execute and work through whatever relationships we started, the conversations we generated, and how we are engaging. What is the conversation leading to? What is the execution we are looking into? And finally, we can look at partnerships. These partnerships, we should make it in a way that clients can be able to actually take part in whatever campaigns they're taking, they're looking at, and making all our partnerships should be client facing. If we're talking about partners that want to work with in East Africa. So that is in a nutshell how I would look at collaboration within the region through the relationships, engagements, and partnerships.
Thank you very much, Clifford. In terms of collaboration, Kester, over to you. What does it look like?
First of all, I'm in total agreement with what Clifford has said, and I can just add one more sort of insight I have in mind. And for me, collaboration also means that by having all these entities in different countries, we should be able to handle much bigger projects as a consortium. Like, for example, is it the African Cup? There's this major football tournament coming up. We should be able to say, or even picking a client who's across the region. If we have a client who's in Kenya, for example, Rwanda, and somewhere else, and one of us is handling, we should be able to come together and leverage on our strengths in the different markets and approach the client as one and handle their campaigns almost as a consortium. I know it is something that is very big when it comes to the NGO world, and it is tried, tested, and proved to be working. But it's something we can also bring into the marketing and communication space.
Thank you so much, Kester. In terms of what collaboration looks like. Binja, over to you.
I think after having talked about some of our technological disadvantages, I think for us, collaboration would really look like just updates on like what's happening. What is it that we're missing? What is it that you guys are able to leverage that probably something that's going to be accessible to us in X number of months or years? So for us, it's more of that knowledge base, that knowledge exchange, that I think collaboration would be extremely beneficial for us, because again, you don't know what you don't know, right? And so having conversations with folks over in Kenya, like William or Clifford or Kester or Furaha, being able to say, hey guys, you know, we're in June. What are you guys forecasting? What are you seeing technologically as something that you can play around with? When William talked about how Safaricom had used AI, I quickly Googled that to see like, hey, what did they actually do? And for me, that is value, right? We always talk about knowledge is power. And I think over on our front, more than anything, it would just be the opportunity to know exactly what's coming down the pipeline, especially because we are further behind the curve. That would be an immersive, an immense advantage for us to be able to actually have that knowledge, so that we know what to prep for, and we know what to look forward to based on what our partners are already experiencing.
Thank you very much, Binja. Very, very well said. I'm really liking these ideas, you know, of what collaboration looks like, you know, consortiums, etc., etc. William, what does collaboration look like to you? You know, earlier on when we were putting forward this webinar together, I said, you know, Wanya Kenya, you know, you come in and you take over smaller markets. So I want to broaden the conversation and say, but there is room for collaboration. And what does that look like to you? Over to you, William.
Thank you. Yeah, Kenyans are known to really want to take. But what there is here, in the 21st century, and particularly where we are now, business is guided by 3 words: partnerships, networks, and synergy. That's it. That's in business. Partnership, networks, and synergy. You don't hold that, you are alone in the field, you will not manage. Because even when I look at what we are here, we have different professional strengths, and our experiences are vast. So when you are even writing a technical proposal for a campaign, Diana, the other day you are writing for Agra, and you realize I have maybe a strength in strategic communication. but you have a strength more within strategic communication, but campaigns. So you tell me, William, do this chapter here, or do this section here, and send me maybe a 1 page, a 2 page, that kind of thing, so that you are not alone. Don't become like university students who write. They sit together, they write their thesis, they finish. When they go and present it, they are told, why didn't you even call a friend to help you? So those kind of things. So I believe that we can really collaborate. And having networks across is very important. For instance, I'm giving you my own experience. I want to get to Ethiopia next week, but now we are being told you can't carry equipment into Ethiopia very easily. You see, so through collaboration with some journalists in Ethiopia, I have gotten access to equipment. Yeah, so we just leave Kenya bare hand, without hand luggage, get onto a plane, we land into Addis, we have equipment. So you see the goodness with the collaboration. So, and I think this is the best way to go. One time we can even say, let us support Binja in DRC to pick up, as an agency. Binja, what do you think is your weak area? Yes, we can support here and there. And that's it. So that's the meaning of this word collaboration.
Thank you very much, William. Very well said. Synergy, partnerships, I can't remember the other one, but I'll come back to it.
It's networks.
And networks. Yes, thank you. Before we go to our Q&A, I'd just like to ask our panelists. I can see some panelists that I know here. I can see Animu from South Sudan. I can see a couple of other people, faces and names I recognize. Sorry. I'd just like to say, if you want to engage, just put your questions in the Q&A box or in the chat. Everything is enabled for you to share your questions. Or comments. I would like to go to Furaha Muhammad from Tanzania. What does collaboration look like to you?
Okay, I'm in agreement with the previous speakers. Yeah, pretty much they sum up whatever we need for this collaboration. Yeah, in terms of knowledge, in terms of partnerships, there are so many ways we could make this collaboration work. And they have pretty much so much impact to ours as agencies and for our clients, because nobody knows a Rwandan market as you do, compared to the people who are in this webinar. Yeah. So if you know the Rwandan audience very well, it means you are able to execute very well and effectively. So it benefits our customers and us as agencies as well. Because if you do one job right, it means you have an assurance of getting another job. Yeah. That's all for me.
Thank you very much. You're absolutely right. I really, can't thank you enough for your valuable contributions. The challenges, when it comes to collaboration, what does it look like to you? And I think these are things we really need to start thinking about a bit more intentionally. I would say, from my end, what collaboration looks like, I would look at the creative industry. And of course, as a creative agency, you're part of the creative industry. And here I'm talking about everything from, arts, music, theater, and that sort of thing. And I think there's so much collaboration happening across East Africa. I just think my question is, but how do we as creative agencies fit into this and support the ongoing collaboration that's happening? So, in terms of giving strategic advice to creatives in the creative industry based on our expertise, in terms of giving platforms, a lot of the creative industry practitioners, in terms of resources, in terms of finance to access to this is really difficult. How can we, immerse ourselves to be not only a guide, but also a sort of mechanism that they can use, and from musicians to actors, to content creators, creative agencies, I think, have a very important role to play. And, the creative industry, not only in Rwanda, but, in the region, but across the continent, is one that's burgeoning, is one that's growing. From my perspective in Rwanda, it's one that's really being invested in. I'm happy to say by governments. We have a Ministry of Youth and Arts that has really looked at how we can support the creative industry, and from international festivals to support. These are things that are happening. So I would like to see how creative agencies can insert themselves in this conversation, and it's something I look forward to. I would like to just quickly check into a Q&A box if there's a question. We have one from Fiona who says, as someone who's just starting out and interested in a career in the creative industry, what most common challenges should a young creative in East Africa expect to face? And what advice would you give to help them navigate the challenges? Thank you very much, Fiona. Binja, I would like you to start answering this question, because not only do you run Kivu Brand, I know you're also the founder of Unwomanly Media, fantastic podcast, showcasing creative work from different, trailblazing women on the continent. So if you could start and answer Fiona's question, thank you.
Yeah, I actually wanted to tie in to one of the things that you had completed saying, and then I can dovetail into this response. So I think as agencies, the one thing that we can do is invest. And I know coming from a position where you might not, at least on our side, where we don't have like a huge influx of like government support, I really think that if you can invest in young creatives by giving them the tools to actually produce their own content for free, if you can give them money to like boost content over on Instagram, whatever it is you can do to help, however small, however big, I think it's essential to make sure that as agencies, we're almost like at the front line of making sure that creatives do have a way out, knowing especially depending on where your government lies with investments in young people and in creatives overall, that can be something that is extremely challenging. Now, to answer this question by Fiona, hi Fiona, I would say most common challenges would be, outside of like knowing exactly where to start, would be getting the tools that support your creativity. Half the time people think like, oh, I need to get this tripod and I need this and I need that. And you start creating all of these technological barriers for yourself, when I personally think if you have a good idea, just start. If you have an iPhone, if you have a friend with an iPhone, if you have a Samsung, if you have a friend with one, try and just start. I always say, put something out there and see what other people's reaction to what you have put out there is, and then go off of that. I would say the most common challenge for me is outside of the mental, when do I start? How do I start? The second thing would be, oh, I don't have the tools for it. And the third thing I would say is people always end up looking at, oh, I don't have enough money to do so. I don't have enough time to do so. So for me, I would say in terms of advice, just start. Just start. Nobody ever start. Even Bill Gates didn't start with 110% of everything that he needed to be perfectly situated to conquer like the technology world. I would say, Fiona, just start. I would also say use what you have. And I would also say look around you. You have resources. Resources are people, they're places. You might work, I don't know, at a library, and the content that you can create could be around the library where you find yourself in. Anything is content. I always tell our local influencers and our local content creators, you need to look at everything as content, not necessarily that, okay, I need to move into the best apartment so I can have the best aesthetics. Start with what you have. That's what I would advise, Fiona.
Thank you very much, Binja. Kester, over to you.
Actually, I'll support what Binja has just said. The mantra that I've always used is actually start local, but then think global. And just to give you a real case scenario, Aquila East Africa started from the same seat I'm seated on right now, in the dining table in the house. So when Binja says you don't need anything to start, I used to make all the phone calls from the same place I'm seated, but I used to knock as many doors as possible until I got an anchor client. So one thing that I know you're going to experience is a bit of cash flow issues because you need money for running around and so on. And for you to do that, you'll need to knock as many doors as possible. And if you can get any client who can put you on any form of retainer, then you're on a very good path to moving on. So my encouragement would be start where you are, knock as many doors as possible. If you can land 1 or 2 or 3 small clients who can just sustain you, then you can always be growing from there. But it's very possible. I am a testament of what I'm saying. Thank you.
I love that, Kester. The fact that you are seated at the genesis of Aquila East Africa here in this webinar is testament to, the growth. Thank you for sharing that. I would like to go over to you, Clifford. What advice do you have for someone as a young creative starting out in this industry, as Fiona asked?
First of all, I'd like to second what the other 2 panelists have said. These are very good directions to take. And mine would be to focus more on thinking outside the box, especially when you're talking about a digital market. Remember that things are changing every day. So always try and stay ahead of the market. Always think from the other side. Think from the side of the recipient of creative material that you want to provide. And that way you'll be able to stay a step ahead of the market. So always think outside the box and try your best. I know innovation might not come immediately, but start by thinking outside the box and do not follow the trends as you see per se. Try and create your own trend or do something that is not yet being done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Clifford, I would like to go to William and then to Furaha, if any advice you'd give a young creative starting out in this industry. William?
Yeah, I think what's critical, if you're going to get into the creative industry, don't go into it because you have heard of names. Go into it because you have a niche. What is your niche? What is it that you want to bring into the industry? And that can only happen if you are also informed about the industry. So Clifford was saying, have the information, be informed. I meet a lot of, or rather several content creators, and we sit down and ask, and we share information. And you'll find that some of them are not informed. So how are you going to create content when you're not informed? And what content do you want to create? Do you want to create content for children? Do you want to create content for ladies? And if you are doing content for ladies, which bracket of ladies? Are you dealing with ladies in Generation Z? Are you dealing with married couples? Are you dealing, what is your niche? What bracket are you addressing? So that when you start producing that content, then you know what you're looking for. But are you able to read? Are you able to look at what is happening in Australia, what's happening in the US, what is happening in Africa, what is happening in Mali, what's happening in Zimbabwe, so that you are very informed if you are going to create content. Is it content on politics? Is it content on business? Is it content on sports? Is it, what is it? Because you can't do content, for example, on sports, if you even don't know which are the reigning champions in Gabon. Something like that. So what do you really want to do? That is the first question. So don't start like you are just excited. It's like you're opening up a shop, a grocery shop, and you see a line of 6 grocery shops where you're opening yours, and you don't know what they do. You don't know who are the suppliers of milk every morning. You must study the industry also. What is it that is in that industry? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, William. Very, very well said. Sorry, Furaha, over to you. What advice would you have for someone like Fiona?
Okay. As for me, all of you have said so much, and for me, it goes back to believing in yourself. You have to believe that you can do it, and the most important thing, you have to be informed. Like William said, you have to familiarize with the industry. You know, even if you have money, tons of it, but you don't know what this industry is all about. You know, you can have as many people to support you. Like you can have good employees, but if you don't know this industry, you know, it's going to fall apart. You can't invest in an industry that you have no idea about it. So first thing first, you believe in yourself, but then you familiarize with the industry. You know the ins and outs, and then yeah, you go ahead. Whatever you want to do, as long as you know it and you trust yourself, you know, help will come. We'll find you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Furaha. And welcome to some of the participants that are still coming in. We're coming to a close, but we have just a few questions from some of our participants. Very great question from Kellen Mugabekazi, who says, hello, like you shared about collaboration, how do creatives maintain their respective creative agencies, yet we have created this synergy of working together? In other words, how does each creative agency stay with their uniqueness, even though you're working with other creatives? Very valid question, and I think I asked that. You know, how do you not duplicate of a step? How do you maintain that balance? Is anyone willing to answer that quite complicated question?
Sorry, I'll pick this. Copyright is critical because if you are, for example, going to do content and you're using music tracks, you have to know that there are music tracks that you have to pay for the copyright, and there are music tracks that are copyright free. So be very careful when you are doing that. In terms of your own content, in Kenya, for example, when you're starting content, we have a KIPO, a Kenya Industrial Property Organization, where you go and register your patent, right? So that you lock up your brand. Otherwise, somebody will run away with that brand. And this is really assumed across board, that you just start and you don't know, and somebody starting something else. I'll tell you my own experience when I was still a young journalist. I started a good musical program. And they asked me for copies of it. And they said, oh, this is very good. I'll just go and listen from home. The next day, it was on a different radio station. Yeah. And because I had not registered copyright or registered patent, for that matter, it's not patented, I just could not do anything. So again, as a person, when you're starting your works, patent your work. Even your logo, patent it. Register it with the copyright authorities in your country. As a content producer or a creative agency, when you are doing creatives, get to know. You could even use some videos, and somebody takes you to court that when you used that video, you did not give credit to the source. You know, it's called attribution. You did not give credit to the source. Or if you did, you did not even consult the source. You did not even find out who produced this before me, and so forth. So those are critical checkpoints that you need to have.
Thank you. Kester, do you want to add on this?
Yes, I think the other thing I've also picked from the question is that there's a concern that when you come together as agencies and one of the parties develops a product, then how do they protect that creativity that they've come up with? And just to say that, of course, this discussion is at a macro level, but when you sit down to draft how you're going to work, then those are the things that you will cater for. But the copyright elements will be definitely included in the whatever agreements that you'll have as the parties that are working on that project moving on. So it is not something that cuts across, but it's something that can be agreed on a day-to-day basis. And that also, I think, ties to your second part, where you're saying, how will you maintain your uniqueness? When coming together to work on a project, you can also agree on who will run what And in that sense, they'll be free to use whatever creative direction they would like to take. Who else will handle what? So all of these, I feel, are things that can be agreed on when you're seated on the table and you're working on a specific project. Thank you.
Would anyone else want to weigh in on that?
Just to harp on it on a project management perspective, I think when you come together defining all the roles, along with making sure that everybody understands what their job is in terms of the collaboration, I think the other important thing is to understand where there's either like a creep in terms of, well, I am now getting to do a little bit of what it is you guys are doing, and to have a strong enough management where you guys can come back, as Kester said, coming back to the table and ensuring that you're all on the same page in terms of who is doing what. I think where projects fail is either due to lack of communication or duplication of efforts, right? So making sure that whoever is sitting as like the project manager is able to evaluate as you go. Not to say that things cannot change, right? Part of being creative is the fact that you need to have the flexibility for change. I just think you need to have somebody who is able to identify when like scope is changing or when plans are changing, and being able to say, hey, let's take a quick pause here, seeing as, you know, Furaha is now going to be doing a little bit of what Kester has already been identified as doing. Are we duplicating efforts? How are we staying true to what the actual original ask is? And then kind of just taking that additional step, asking those additional questions before you move forward. Because sometimes I think people are so taken in projects and people are so taken in collaborations, all in the name of let's show that we can do together, but you fail to realize that in most cases you're either duplicating efforts, or there's somebody who's just kind of like seated on their laurels waiting for the final product to say, hey, this was a group project. But having good project management, I think at the end of the day, is key to making sure that any collaboration actually comes to fruition with the right steps and with everybody getting their right attribution, everybody not duplicating efforts, and obviously finishing on time.
Thank you very much, Benja. I can't agree with you more. I've been, you know, privileged and honored to collaborate with some, you know, very talented agencies in the region as well as in Rwanda. And I think from the get-go, understanding the key points for this partnership, you know, in a very transparent manner is what enables collaboration. You know, this is what we're going to do. This is our niche. This is our strength. This is what you're going to do. This is our niche and this is our strength. And collaboration has enabled us to grow in terms of our clientele, to grow in terms of product and service, and grow also in terms of knowledge because of this cross-sharing. But I think from the get-go, it's so important to just pinpoint each side or each collaborative partner's responsibilities from the onset. And I think that prevents a lot of, you know, friction down the lane. Before we go to our next question, would you, Furaha or Mohammed, want to weigh in on this in terms of synergies and the balance between collaboration and ownership of ideas or copyrights between agencies?
Yeah, for me, I think this was something I could have said as we move on in the maybe next steps. I believe if we want to build a smooth collaboration mechanism between agencies in our region, then we could have a board that can help to guide us in terms of if we're going to collaborate between you and you, these are things you are supposed to follow. This is a guideline that we are going to establish all together, because we understand the dynamics of the industry, we understand the risk. So if we come together and we put together rules and regulations, it's going to help us to be able to work freely and smoothly, because we understand the limits. And we also have to, you know, when you treat another agent as your ally, you are going to help to uplift each other, rather than when you see like you're my competitor, you see. So whatever maybe we are working together, but then I'm just gonna copy you, or I'm just gonna take over the client, you see. But if we have a guideline principles that are going to have established by ourselves, then I believe we're going to have a smooth collaboration, and yeah, we're going to like it.
Thank you very much. I want to go to just the last two questions before we wind up. We need to be a bit slightly over time because we started a bit late due to some technological connection errors, issues. This question I think is very interesting. It comes from Iris, and it's a nice question because it talks about also what's important, making money. And she says, I'm curious about the long-term potential of working in the creative industry. Can you share your insights on whether this career path has the potential to be financially sustainable and rewarding over time? I'd like to just start by answering that. This is a passion project to be in the creative industry. There's lots of work, lots of blood, sweat, and tears, and the reward comes much later. So you have to be in it for the long game, for the long haul. But I'll hand over to my panelists to answer the question as briefly as possible before we go to the last question and finish. Kester, please start off.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. In Kenya, for example, or in most regional countries, you're always told transport industry is not lucrative. It has a lot of issues and so on and so forth. But then you still see many more people getting into the industry. So creative industry also might look like there's a lot of challenges right now to do with AI and so on. But my take is it is very, very lucrative. The number of clients who are becoming more conversant with the need for marketing and the creative services is increasing. You've seen that the market of East Africa is what? Was it 302 million people? The number of companies are actually quite high. So the demand will always be there. The only thing that needs to happen with a creative agency is that if you are playing in it, then you must be able to adapt to the different changes that come at different stages. And this is not something unique to creative agency alone. This is regardless of where else you would go to. So yes, there might look like there's a bit of challenges, but it's still very lucrative. All you need to do is just adopt, learn new things, and you'll be able to be in the money. Thank you.
Anyone else who wants to answer this quickly?
I think I can quickly share something. Just like to share some facts to show you that how lucrative the industry is. For example, like the UN Conference on Trade and Development puts the creative industry at $208 billion in 2002. In 2014, the same conference puts the creative industry at 577 billion, up from 208 billion. And out of the 577 billion, 331 went to developing countries. This is from a global perspective. So this can show you, if you were to look at what the developing countries are gaining from the creative industry as of 2024, it will just be an amazing figure. And that shows you that as much as it's blood, sweat, and tears, it is a lucrative industry.
Thank you very much. Furaha, William, would you like to weigh in on this, or should we go to the last question?
Yeah. For me, I just want to add one more thing. Every industry could be lucrative depending on how you do it. You know, if you do a good job, you know, your quality expands and you are able to choose customers wisely. You know, you can be able to accumulate a lot. There's no any industry that, you know, by default is lucrative. If you just do a small work, you get all the money. It is impossible. But if you work hard, you do quality work, you do the right things, we can make even non-lucrative industry to be lucrative.
Thank you very much. Last question for today is from Betty T, who says, what mechanisms are you thinking of to ensure knowledge management and sharing of factual information across agencies with the region? Very pertinent question. What mechanisms, you know, I don't think we have a deep time to do a deep dive into it, but sort of what mechanisms are we as creative agencies, what ideas do we have, or what mechanisms we should put in place to share and exchange knowledge? Would you like to take on it, Linda, to start off?
So again, this was part of what I had actually asked for. So you and I on the same page, Betty, here. But I would foresee some type of opportunity where we have like a knowledge base, where we can actually just have a like a hub, and everything and anything that's pertinent to marketing, comms, PR could live and exist in this space where we have agencies that over time, as Blue Oceans is going to continue this conversation, would be able to kind of generate like a paper or generate notes. For example, I know that this meeting is being generated in terms of notes through AI. So everything that we get in terms of highlights are going to exist in this hub. So I would say to ensure knowledge management and sharing would be the creation of a hub where we have all of the data, all of the information, all of talks such as these, any tips, tricks that are being shared across the board in terms of how to further collaboration would exist in a hub, and then that hub would be accessible to partnering agencies and even in a larger scale to any creative who is open. Think about stuff like OpenAI, think about stuff like open source coding. We end up furthering technology and furthering advancements by opening things up and not really keeping things locked down. So for me, I would say a mechanism would be to create a hub that would be accessible to most, if not all.
Thank you very much, Binja. I hope Betty's question was answered. I would like to just answer that by saying, I think one way of doing it is actually webinars such as these. These webinars are actually a platform, not only to us as panelists, but to put on a digital platform open to all in terms of sharing information, sharing ideas, inspiring ideas as well in the industry, and making also people who rely on creative and agencies understand the work we do more. So I think this webinar, and thank you for everyone for joining, is one aspect of factual information exchange. I would like to ask if anyone would like to weigh in on this quickly before we close.
I think I would also leverage the tools that we talked about right from the beginning, using social media, just kind of creating accessible, bite-sized pieces of information that people can digest as they go along throughout their day. I think we all don't necessarily have to sit down and read through a huge document, but through Blue Ocean's Kivu brand, Ideal, we can always kind of within our own agencies disperse key learnings from sessions like these, or from the hub, or if Clifford and his team come up with something along the lines of this is what's happening in Sudan, and here is a link. I feel like those are mechanisms that are very much low-hanging fruits that we can all do to ensure that we support each other, and that would also still have maximum impact in our communities.
Absolutely. And definitely after this, I answered Bildad's question, who wrote in the chat, what happens after this. So we're actually going to share this webinar recording on our YouTube channel, Blue Oceans. Just look for Blue Oceans Rwanda on YouTube. I'm sure Kester, Binja, Furaha, Clifford, William, who I hope is still here, are also going to share this on their channels. We'll also break it down into bite-sized chunks that we'll share on our socials, because the webinar is quite long. So we'll really endeavor to share as much from this discussion on social media and keep the conversation going. For those who joined a bit later, this is the first of many such webinars to just share industry trends when it comes to creative agencies across the East African market. So in closing, I would like to thank everyone and just ask very brief last words on this webinar. Looking forward, but just closing remarks from everyone as briefly as possible. Kester, I'll pick up with you. Thank you.
All right, mine is just to thank everyone for taking part in this webinar. Quite a bit from these discussions, and I believe as we go on, all involved, be it panelists or just people attending, are going to benefit from this. So that's all from me, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kester. Clifford?
I also want to start by thanking all the panelists and everybody who participated. Well, to everyone here, we are now. Let's create a golden thread that you can be able to piece everything that we discussed on first, second, third webinar and make this actually come to life. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Furaha?
As for me, thank you so much for putting this together. It's a quite interesting platform, and I assure that I want to see the next one, and not just the next one, but I want us to, whatever we have discussed here, there must be a way forward to put together collaborations. Like I've said, maybe we need a governing board. Maybe it is a bit complex, but it's just a matter of discussion to come up with a way that we can work together smoothly in a way that it can benefit all agencies and our customers. But also, one last thing I picked up from Kester is how we can actually approach this as a way to pitch to big organizations that are working all across the region. We can pitch collectively and we can win big, because these are big organizations, are looking for a way, and they usually go through a lot of individual pitching style, which sometimes between me and you, maybe you get, maybe I lose. But if we do it together, we are very assured that we are going to win, and it's going to be a constant business for us because there are so many of them doing things. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We are over time, but as it is with this sort of conversations, they're very engaging, they're very inspiring, they're very insightful, it's very hard to just keep it under, an hour and a half, but I think, we've done well, just slightly 20 minutes over. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Binja from Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you, Kester Muhanji, here representing Uganda. Thank you, Clifford Mugambi, representing South Sudan. Thank you very much. William, representing Kenya, and Furaha from Tanzania. Thank you so much. I think this was a great first start of many conversations with regards to how can we broaden opportunities when it comes to the creative market, creative agency industry in the region. And thank you to everyone who has shared their insights, very fantastic questions from our attendees. I said earlier on, we will share this on our YouTube channel. A reminder, the agencies here represented are Kivu Brand, represented by by Binja Basimike from Democratic Republic of Congo. So look for Kivu Brand. Kester Muhanji representing Uganda. Look for Aquila East Africa. And Clifford Mugambi representing Republic of South Sudan. Look for Boomerang Creatives. And Furaha Mohammed representing Tanzania. Look for Horizon Digital. And then William, who unfortunately had to leave early, is here representing Kenya, and his agency is called Ideal Communication Concepts. So it's been an honor, just sharing insights. I look forward to the next conversations, and it's been great also listening to all the panelists, and especially questions and participation from attendees. Thank you very much. I'm always happy to convene these things on a Friday because we can go and keep on sharing knowledge. The weekend is upon us, and looking forward to the next one. It's been an honor hosting and convening this on behalf of Blue Oceans, and really looking forward to the next one. Thank you all. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. This was great.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.
Blue Oceans. Think, create, do.